Hello and welcome to Hadoop tutorials at Learning Journal. We have been learning some basic theory about Hadoop. In this video, I want to set up a single node Hadoop cluster. We will be using this single node cluster for most of our hands-on explorations and learning. If you already have access to some Hadoop cluster, you can use it for these tutorial videos. But having an exactly same environment in your hand might simplify your learning journey. So I recommend to set up your single node cluster as explained in this video. There are many Hadoop distributions, and among the most popular ones, we have Cloudera and Hortonworks. I am going to use Hortonworks distribution for this tutorial. The reason for choosing Hortonworks is that they offer everything as Apache 2.0 license. However, most of the learnings that you will take away from this series should apply to both of the distributions. Let's start. You need a Linux machine to install Hadoop. I am going to use CentOS 6.8 VM in Oracle VirtualBox. If you are not familiar with the VMs, I have a Linux tutorial for big data developers. You can check that tutorial to learn and create a VM in Oracle VirtualBox and start it in seamless mode. Okay, so I already have a VM started in seamless mode. I also recommend using static IP for your VM. Change it to manual. By default, it is DHCP. We don't want the VM to keep changing its IP over a restart. Right. I am going to follow the HDP installation guide, so let's go to HDP documentation and pick up the Ambari documentation. Before we start the installation, let me summarize the high-level steps. Okay, so for the first step, we need following resources. You can find the download link for first 3 components in the documentation. Go to Obtaining the Repositories section. So, for CentOS 6, this one is the link for Ambari. Copy this link and download it using your preferred download method. After completing your Ambari download, you can move to the HDP stack repositories. Copy the link for HDP and HDP utils and download them as well. These 3 files are altogether 7 GB in size, so it's going to take some time to complete these downloads. If your network is slow or not stable, you can use a download manager. Finally, you need to download JDK. You can get it from OTN. Accept the license and download the RPM for Linux 64-bit. I'm going to use Java 8 and that's the recommended version as per Ambari documentation. Okay. So I have all the necessary downloads ready. All these red color files. We completed the first step. For the next step, we come back to Ambari documentation at Prepare the Environment. As per this document, we need to do many things. To simplify the work, I have created a shell script to complete all those preparation steps. Let me show you. So, I am setting the fully qualified host name and short name for my VM. Then I am setting up passwordless SSH. Next step is to switch on or switch off some services. Disable THP, uncompress your downloaded files, and finally reboot your machine. I am assuming that you understand basic Linux and all these preparation steps are explained well in Ambari documentation. So I am not going into minute details. To successfully execute this script, you may need to stick to the exact versions and hostname used in this demo. You will also need other 3 files as well. The shell script and companion files are available in my GitHub, and I have added a link in the description. So, I have all the necessary files in this directory. Now it's very simple. I'm going to complete step 2 and step 3 together. Let me install JDK. Done. The next step is to set the Java home and path environment variables in etc profile. Just add these 2 lines in your etc profile. Done. Let me check if I installed JDK correctly. Good. Now I give the execute permission to my shell script and execute it. It will ask you some questions. Just press enter key and it should continue. It may take a couple of minutes to complete. Most of the time goes in uncompressing the downloaded files. Done. My machine is restarting now. So, now we are at step 4. Install, configure and start Ambari server. Ambari is an open source project and it is a web-based Hadoop cluster management tool. We use it for installing, managing and monitoring Hadoop cluster. If you are using Cloudera distribution, you will be using Cloudera Manager instead of Ambari. That's a significant difference in Hortonworks and Cloudera distribution. Okay, after the restart, come back to the shell. Now we are ready to install Ambari. So let's install it. Done. The next step is to set up Ambari server. We use this command to set up it. It will ask you some questions, but we just hit the enter key and accept the defaults. It will take few seconds to complete. Done. Let's start the Ambari server. So, we completed step 4 as well. We are ready to start Hadoop cluster installation using Ambari. As I mentioned, Ambari is a web-based tool. You can access Ambari using your VM's IP address and default port 8080. The default username and password are same. Both are admin and admin. Launch the install wizard. Give a name to your cluster. We take the default version. That's the latest as on the date of recording. Use local repository because we have already downloaded everything, uncompressed it and created a local repository. We need to specify the local repository location. You can find it from the .repo file that I provided along with the shell script. Click Next and give your VM's host name. If you want to install a multi-node cluster, you should provide names of all your machines in this box. But since we are creating a single node cluster, we have just one name. Ambari uses SSH to log into the computer and installs required components. That's why we need to set up passwordless SSH as part of the preparation step. For SSH to work, we need to provide private key. You can copy private key from your VM and paste it here. Okay, now Ambari will install Ambari agent on the listed machines. We have just one node, so it's showing only one name in the list. Make sure that you get this message. If you don't get this right, that means you missed something in the preparation step. Let's move to the next step. Okay, so here we have a list of all components that Ambari can install on your Hadoop cluster. I am going to install the bare minimum configuration to keep it lightweight. We will add more elements as we progress in this tutorial. These are all master components. We will learn more about all of these. But as of now, we have nothing to change on this page. Okay, so these are all client components. We take defaults and move further. You will see this alert because you need to specify a password for Grafana admin. Grafana is an open source metric visualization tool. Ambari uses it for its dashboard. Click Deploy and done. It should take less than 10 minutes to complete the installation. Great. So you have your single node Hadoop cluster. I used 60 GB disk space for my VM and it looks like I already consumed more than 50%. Let me remove the downloaded files as I already have a backup somewhere else. Great, it came down to 38%. Let me help you with a quick navigation through Ambari. If you come here, you get a list of all the services that we have installed on this machine. I will cover all relevant services in detail as we progress with the tutorial. If a particular service is not running, you can start it from this page. You might be wondering that what belongs to which component. I mean, so many services are listed here. You may want to know at least the mapping of these services to different elements. That's a simple thing to discover. So, for HDFS, we have these three services. If you check yarn, these three services belong to that component. Similarly, these two are for MapReduce. You can explore other elements yourself. If you want to get details of configuration properties for different elements, you can get it here. we have a further grouping for each service. You can search for particular property. Let me show you the default replication factor. So, the default replication factor is 3. Ambari shows it nicely, however, the actual parameter name is dfs.replication. Okay, that's it on Ambari. It may be impossible to keep this VM running for days. After a restart, these services doesn't start automatically. You can start them from the Ambari dashboard home page. It may take few minutes to start all these services. Okay, I have been little quick in this video and I ignored several details. But don't worry about that because I'll cover most of these things as we progress in this tutorial. Please like, subscribe and share to support us. Keep learning and keep growing.